Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss the current affairs of 9th January 2021. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our first article. And if you see this title, it mainly says that government told to arm forest officers to fight poachers. So this is the one important problem we are facing, that is poaching. So this poaching, which is very important topic under environment and ecology, which mainly comes under the GS paper 3. And this topic will be very important regarding mains, not from prelims. Now let us see the context and we are going to see detailedly about this poaching. So if you see the context, it says that Supreme Court urged the government to arm the forest officers and provide them with the bulletproof vest and the vehicles. So what happened? Because of this poachers, there is an increased threat to the forest officers. So because of this article mainly says that Supreme Court urged the government mainly to arm the forest officers, mainly to provide them safety equipment regarding the bulletproof jacket, vest and vehicles. So in this context, India recorded the greatest number of the mortal fatalities in these forest officers, and also India accounted for 30% of the fatalities among the forest rangers in the world. So across the world, India accounted about 30% of the mortalities regarding these poachers. So because of this, Supreme Court mainly directed the government that some premier organizations such as CBI can also help the forest officers to fight against these poachers. And if you see some details which are highlighted in this article, the first and the foremost here is there is a need of a separate wing and also wildlife division, mainly the enforcement directorate. So whenever this separate wing which is from this enforcement directorate also dealing with these poachers, it can help to track and to investigate the crimes of the poachers. So because whenever these poachers, they are mainly illegally killing the animals, mainly for some organs, like we can say tusk of elephants, horns of rhinos and also some nails, so and so. What happened? These are very involved in a high amount. So the amount mainly involved in this poaching is very huge. So in this way, whenever this enforcement directorate, which is a special wing, also will be dealing with these poachers, then it will helps to track and as well as it will be very easy to investigate the crime. And in this context, it also says that forest officers above the certain rank, they need to be armed. They need to give some self-protection equipments like bulletproof vest, helmets, vehicles, etc. Because if you see on another side, the poachers, they are heavily armed. But if you see our forest officers, they are not armed or unarmed. So because of this, these unarmed forest officials, they are mainly taking as an advantage by these poachers to attack against them. So because of this, there is increase in the fatalities. And now let us see the poaching in India. First, let us try to understand what is the meaning of poaching. Here, poaching means simply illegal hunting or capturing of wild animals, and it also includes often killing of the wild animals. So why this is the illegal killing? So what is the importance? Why these people want to kill these animals? Mainly for the ridiculous motives like ivory, fur, organs, skin, bones, teeth of animals. And this poaching also includes other activities. The first one is the killing of the wild or protected animal without any license, and also trespassing, and it will also exceed the one's bag limit. That means if you see in the forest there are many tribal peoples are present, so mainly these tribal people go for the hunting mainly to supplement their dietary needs, but whenever they are then it is called as over exploitation. This over exploitation will also comes under the poaching. And now let us try to understand what are the causes of this poaching. The first and the foremost is lax and broken regulation system. So whatever the laws are present for the protection of the wildlife, so whenever because of the officers who are going for the corruption so and so, then it will lead to the broken regulation system that will contribute for the poaching. And the next one is highly priced and the valued animal parts, products and the pets, which are mainly seen in the international market. So because of this, the people mainly go for the poaching. And the next one is unproven religious beliefs. For example, if you see there is a pangolin, which is a mammal, So this pangolin mainly have the scales on its surface. So these scales have the medicinal value. So this mainly used in the traditional medical system in the China. And as well as if you see in the horn of the rhino, it also have some medicinal value. So because of this some religious beliefs, they are going for the poaching mainly for this parts of the animal. And the next one is food and exotic dishes for the elites. And the next one is organized criminal networks are present, mainly they will go for the poaching. And whenever there is habitat loss, what happens, these animals, they come outside their habit. So in this way, mainly to protect this, they will go for the killing of the animals. And now let us try to understand the impacts. So these impacts will be very, very important for mains. The first and the foremost here is it leads to the extinctions or endanger. So if at all, when we are talking, let us take an example. So we have 10 tigers in this area. But because of the poaching, what happened, the people, they coming for the killing of these tigers. So gradually what happened, the number of these tigers will be decreased. Finally, it will lead to the extinction. But whenever there is a decrease in the number of these tigers, for example, there are 3 or 4 tigers are present. So this comes under the endangered species. So they need the protection. So in this way, whenever we are going for the poaching, there will lead to the extinction and endangered. And for example, there is African elephants, rhinos. So if you see this particular species of the white rhinos, there are only 2 species. They are in the captive breeding centers. And the next one is African pangolins are also endangered, and the tigers number is also decreasing. So because of that, we came up with this Project Tiger. And the next one is animals, they can suffer. So because of this, most of these wild animals, we started domesticating those animals, right? For example, we can say some wild parrots, which are mainly present, right? So what happened here? Actually, these animals, they are kept in the cages, suitcases, sacks or boxes, and we are going for the domestication of these animals. So because of this, animals can suffer. And the next one is, it will also lead to the human deaths. So poachers mainly kill the rangers or the officers who are guarding this forest. So if you see, according to the National Geography, the records mainly says that more than 600 rangers, they were killed from 2009 to 2016. And the next one is, it compounds the criminal network activities and increases the global health risk. It means because of the trafficking and money laundering and the corruption, we are seeing there is an increased incidence of poaching. And if you are talking about the global health risk, whenever the people are going into the wildlife and they are coming in contact with these wild animals, so that will lead to the transmission of the virus or the bacteria which are present in the wild animals to the humans. So that will increase the risk of the spreading of the deadly disease. For example, we are facing coronavirus now. And the next one is imbalance in the ecosystem. So for a healthy ecosystem, it should have certain amount of the predators and as well as the prey. So if at all prey is increasing, predator is decreasing, then what happens? There will be the imbalance. So whenever the predators are increasing and the prey is decreasing, they cannot sustain. Correct? So whenever the predators are decreasing but prey is increasing, so these prey on which grass which is dependent, it will be decreasing, right? So in this way, whenever there is a correct number of the predators and the prey is present, then only there will be the sustainability or the surviving ecosystem that is present, or else it will lead to some imbalance. And if you see these top predators, they mainly act as a keystone species. So they play an important role in the balancing of ecosystem. And the next one is decreased tourism, because animals which are going to extinct, for example, because of the increase in the poaching, so and so numbers used to present in this area, their number is decreased. So because of the decreased number in that area, that will also affect the tourism. So the tourism industry will be badly affected, and that will lead to the decreased economy of that state, which it is dependent on that tourism. So these are the some important things that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see the next article. Title says many army personnel under stress. So this article, it is very important regarding security, which comes under GS paper 3. And this article will be very important regarding mains, not from prelims. Now let us see the context and as well as some important details which are highlighted in this article. So this context mainly says that more than half of the Indian army personnel, they seem to be under stress according to the report. So this report mainly given by the United Service Institution of India. So this United Service Institution of India mainly came up with the report based on the stress levels faced by this army personnels. So it mainly says that more than half of the Indian army personnels, they seem to be under stress, under severe stress. So this article also says that army has been losing more personnel every year because of the suicide and fratricides and untoward incidents. So because of the increase in the stress, these army personnel, they are going for the committing the suicides, fratricides and untoward incidents. So these increase in the suicides or the deaths in the Indian army, which is more because of the stress than we are compared to the enemy or the terrorist activities. So this is the important highlights of this report. And if you see why there is an increased levels. So this report mainly says that there is increased stress levels in the last 2 decades in this army personnel. So because of some operational and as well as non-operational stresses. So when we are talking about operational stresses, these people, they will understand those and they will accept those operational stress. But when you are talking about unoperational stresses, they are mainly creating or they are mainly compounding the adverse effect mainly on the health. And also whenever there is an impact on the health, that will adversely affect the combat efficiency of the soldiers as well. And the next one is why there is an increase in the stress. Because there is a prolonged exposure to the counter-insurgency and the counter-terrorism environment. So because of these reasons, we see there is an increased level of the stress in this army personnel. So this is the important reason that you should remember. And if you see about this management measures, so this study mainly says that there are many management measures which are implemented by the army and the defense. But from last 15 years, whatever the measures which are taken by this army and the defense, they are not being able to achieve the desired effects. So if you are talking about the units and the subunits which are under the stress, there is increased number of indiscipline, increased level of unsatisfactory state of training, inadequate maintenance of equipment, and they are showing the more low morale and motivation. So because of all these reasons which are mainly caused by increased stress, that will adversely affect in the combat preparedness and as well as operational performance in the Indian army. So these are the some important things that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see the next article. State Election Commission announces dates for local body polls. So how this article it is important. If you open your polity, there is in your syllabus there is Election Commission. So because of this, the State Election Commission will be important from prelims point of view. So this article will be important regarding polity, which comes under GS paper 2. So let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So context says State Election Commission has opted to hold panchayat elections in Andhra Pradesh after weighing the pros and cons. So this article mainly says that State Election Commission, which is mainly going to hold this panchayat elections in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And Election Commission mainly has decided to conduct the polls for the local bodies in the 4 phases. So this is the important thing which is given in the article. And now let us try to discuss some facts regarding the State Election Commission. So our Constitution of India mainly vests in the State Election Commission. So under this State Election Commission, there will be State Election Commissioner. So the duty of this State Election Commissioner here, it is to superintend, direct and also to control of the preparation of the electoral rolls and to conduct the elections mainly to the local bodies, that is panchayats and as well as municipalities. Panchayats mainly comes under Article 243K. Municipalities comes under Article 243ZA. So these are the articles that you should remember. And if you see this State Election Commissioner, he mainly appointed by whom? That is the Governor of State according to the Article 243C3. And what is the need of the State Election Commission? So if you see under Constitution of India mainly talks about the local self-government institution. So this local self-government institution, which is mainly the responsibility which comes under the state. So as we know, there is a 7th schedule. So under this 7th schedule, we have 3 lists. List 1, List 2 and List 3. List 1 talks about the central list. List 2 talks about the state list. List 3 talks about the concurrent list. So as we know, under the Constitution of India, this local self-government institution mainly comes under the responsibility of the state. So in the list 2, in the entry 5 in the list 2 of the 7th schedule of our Indian Constitution, which mainly talks about this local self-government. So these are some important things which you need to know regarding this article. So one homework I want to give you here is, please open your Lakshmikant and refer this panchayats. Okay. Now let us see the next article. Title says youth kill endangered dolphin in UP. So if you see this image, you can see that recently a video which had become viral in the social media, that is, these people, they started killing this endangered dolphin. So why this article is important? So what to study in this article? You need to focus on this endangered dolphin here, not about this incident that happened in the UP. So you need to focus on this, what is this endangered dolphin, where it is present, and what is the protection status. Because in the prelims you can expect a questions or the statements regarding this endangered dolphin. So this article will be again important regarding environment and ecology, which comes under GS paper 3. So let us have a detailed discussion on this article. So context says a video of a group of men and boys in the UP. They started beating to death a Gangetic river dolphin, and this video became viral. So if you are talking about the killing of this Gangetic river dolphin, it is a punishable offence, mainly under the section 9 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So under this section, under this Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, it is a punishable offence. So now let us see some facts regarding this dolphin. So this Gangetic dolphin mainly found in two important areas. The first one is Ganges, Meghna, Brahmaputra area, and next one is Karanapalli, Sangu river systems, which is present in the countries of India, Nepal and Bangladesh. And if you see some facts regarding this Gangetic river dolphin, it is one of the India's national aquatic animal. It is also called as Susu. So you need to remember this Susu name. And if you see here, it is one of the freshwater dolphin. So across the world, there are only 4 types of the freshwater dolphins are present, and this is the one of them. So what are the remaining here? So if you see the remaining freshwater dolphins are present across the world, the first one is Baiji in the river Yangtze, which is in the China. It is extincted now. And the next one is Bulan, which is present in the Indus river in the Pakistan. Next one is Boto. Boto, it is mainly found in the river Amazon in the Latin America. So these freshwater dolphins mainly seen in the rivers and as well as lakes. And if you see the threats of this dolphin, the first and the foremost here is pollution. So as we know, they are mainly living in the freshwater. So because of the dumping of the single use of the plastic and we can say dumping of the dead bodies or industrial pollution, fishing and mass bathing mainly in these areas, that is leading to the increased pollution. So as we know, this dolphin, it is one of the bioindicator, that is indicator of the environment which is present. So if at all there is a freshwater that is present in that area, it will be present. Whenever it is increasing pollution in that area, then the number will be decreased. So based on the number of availability of this species in that area, we can identify the healthiness of that environment there. So because of the pollution, it is also one of the threat. And the next one is restrictive flow of water. So whenever we are going for the building of the barrages or the dams across this river, so in the downstream, the flowing of the river or the flow of the river will be decreased. So the level of the water will also important for the sustenance of these animals. And the next one is poaching for the organs. And the next one is shipping and the dredging. So as we know, this Susu, which is a blind dolphin, because it does not have eyelids, but it can move, it can navigate, it can hunt mainly because of the echolocation. For example, what is the mechanism which is used by the bats, that can be used by this Susu as well. And if you see the protection status, this will be very, very important for prelims. So in IUCN Red List, it is listed under endangered, and in the site it is listed under the Appendix 1, and in the Wildlife Protection Act it is listed under the Schedule 1 of Schedule 1 of this Wildlife Protection Act. And if you see only one sanctuary, we can see this Susu, that is Vikramshila Gangetic Dolphin Sanctuary. So this will be very, very important. Okay, so these are some important things that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see the next article. Title says night and day. So if you see the central theme, it mainly says To expect women to stay indoors for their safety is to deny them their freedoms and the rights. So it mainly talking about safety of the women, right? So this article mainly says that whenever we are saying that women should not come out of their doors, that means women should stay in the indoors mainly for their safety. So in this way we are mainly compromising on the freedom of the rights which are given to those women. So this article will be important regarding society, okay, which comes under GS paper 2 and GS paper 1. So this article, it is especially important regarding means. Now let us see this article in a great detail. So this article mainly focusing on the safety of women. So to understand this article, first you need to know the background, why the central theme of the article, which is mainly based on the staying of the women indoors. The background here is recently we saw many incidents regarding the sexual violence and rape and murder. For example, Unnao case, Hathras, and also now the recent case that is happened in the Uttar Pradesh, that is Bedaun case. So these are some examples of the horrific alleged rape and murder here. So whenever the senior woman, she went to this area mainly to consult those family members, that is senior member of National Commission for Women. She visited this Bedaun house mainly to talk with their family members. Then what happened, the woman mainly said that women should never go out at the odd hours under anyone influence. She made a statement that women should not come outside their houses in the odd hours, mainly if there is anyone in influence. That means women should not come out of their doors mainly in the odd times, mainly to ensure the safety of the women. So whenever this type of the statement which is given by the senior member of the National Commission for Women, it mainly remarks the worsening of the situation of the women who are battling against the sexual violence here, who are battling against the societal gender conditioning. So these type of the utterances mainly that will fades away whatever the hard work mainly done by the women in all the spheres, even in the science and technology. And if you see, this article mainly says that to expect the women to stay in the indoors for their safety, it is denying their freedom and their rights which are provided by the Constitution of India. So if you see some data regarding the sexual violence, so according to the NCRB data, it says that 88 rape cases that were recorded every day in India. And if you see those cases, they are highly present in the UP. UP reported the second highest number of the cases across the country. It is about 3,665 cases. And if you see, after the Nirbhaya incident which happened in the 2012, we came up with amendments in our criminal law, that is Criminal Law Amendment Act. So this act mainly laid down the rules for the stringent punishment for the crimes against the women violence. But though we came up with this act, we are facing this continuation of these incidents that are happening. So because of this, we can say there is a patriarchal mindset that is present. So this patriarchal mindset which is to poor policing, that is also one thing which is evidence here. So though we are coming with the stringent punishment laws, the crimes are continuing, right? So because of this, we can say there is a patriarchal mindset still present in our society. So if you are talking about the employment status of women, according to the Center for Monitoring India Economy data, it mainly says that 10.7% of the women, they are present or they are contributing into the workforce in the year 2019 to 2020, but because of the pandemic they lost their jobs. So in the same way, whenever we are seeing the report of the men, so the men whoever they lost their job in this pandemic, they almost recovered their jobs, but if you see the condition of women, they didn't. So because of this, I want to give you an open conclusion here. So what are the steps to be taken and what is the way forward? Let me know in the comment box. And now let us see the next article. Title says Beyond the Central Vista Verdict, Key Questions. So this article, it is very important again regarding the polity which comes under GS paper 2. And this topic will be very important regarding means. And this article we are going to talk about the accountability, that is a part of our governance. Now let us see this article in great detail. So the context here is Supreme Court gave the verdict regarding this Central Vista project. So what is this Central Vista project? We discussed number of times. So it is regarding the new parliament building. So under this new parliament building, we are going for the three important things. The first one is our new parliament building. Next one is central secretariat, and also we are going to revive the Rashtrapat. Okay. So if you see, recently Supreme Court gave a verdict that it allowed this project. So why Supreme Court allowed here? Because if you see the occupancy which is very low and which is not meeting this COVID-19 pandemic rules. So mainly when we are going for this new parliament building, we are going for the increased occupancy till 900 people, and we are also revamping our infrastructure. But if you see, the concerns which are mainly raised regarding this project here is whatever the amount which is mainly used for the building of this new parliament, so that can be spent in the other areas like the health, education, so and so. And there is also some ecological concern regarding the parliament building. So these are some concerns mainly raised. So if you are talking about the democracy will be the two types. The first one is procedural democracy and next one is participatory democracy. So what is this procedural means? We need to follow the procedure. For example, there is Election Commission of India, right? So the functions here, it is to conduct the elections. So mainly we are going for the elections mainly to elect our representatives, and we are going for the voting of them. So mainly to elect our representatives, we are going to follow certain procedure. So this type of the procedure we are following, it is called as a procedural form of democracy. And what is this participatory form of democracy? Here the important function of the government here, it is to governance. But this governance, it is a not sole responsible of our government. Even citizens can also participate in that governance process mainly to make more effective thing. So here the questions are mainly concerned of the citizens whenever they are not addressed by the government. Then the citizens, they can go for the filing of the cases in the court. So the courts, they can go for the judicial review. So in the judicial review also, whatever the important issues of the people, they are not addressed, then these people where to go? So this is the one important question mainly highlighted in this article. So in this context, we need to talk about the accountability. So who is accountable here? So what is the meaning of accountable? That means who is responsible to the action. For example, if the government which came up with any law, so regarding this, who is accountable? So here the government need to be accountable for the actions which are done. So if you are talking about accountability, there are again two types of accountability which are mainly highlighted in this article. The first one is horizontal, next one is vertical. Horizontal means parallelly, if there is one organization, there will be the checking organization that is present at the same level. Correct? For example, if you see regarding this horizontal accountability, it is mainly creating the interrelated state organization. They are parallelly. That means we have this executive which is mainly implementing, implementing the laws. So this is the important function of the executive, right? So whenever executive which is implementing the plans, it is going for the expenditure. So who will see this expenditure? That will be seen by the CAG. That means we can see this executive expenditure which is mainly checked by the CAG. And if you are talking about the legislative, its main function here is to make the laws. So there are different committees, they will look after these laws mainly to check the legislature. So in this way, we are creating one organization which are interrelated mainly to make accountable. So executive will be made accountable by the CAG. Here legislative will be made accountable by these committees. So these are present parallelly. So this type of accountability, it is called as horizontal accountability. And the next one is vertical accountability. So it mainly concerns about the citizens' oversight. That means if government which is coming up with any plan for the sake of the citizens. For example, we can talk about the MGNREGA which will provide the employment for the rural areas, right? So this MGNREGA, whether it is functioning or not, whether this is helpful to the people or not, so we are going for the audits, social audits. So in this way, we can go for the vertical accountability. So if you are talking about this horizontal accountability, it is a poor track record that is present. So in this context, we need to go for the vertical accountability. Okay, so this is about the whole theme of this article. If you see, in this article mainly talked about the concerns of the people regarding these projects. So we need to ensure the public commitments, civil projects, and as well as we need to improve the participatory process in the city building. So because of this Central Vista project, there are many concerns which are raised by the people. So mainly to deal with those issues, these people should be also included. We need to go for the participatory form of democracy here. So whenever these issues which are not addressed by the government, these citizens will go for the judicial review. So whenever this judicial review, whenever these courts are also hesitant to direct the changes regarding the mandated regulations, so we are mainly going for the solutions. So those solutions should be improve the political pursuance, and we need to go for the public pressure. So in this way, vertical accountability comes into the picture. So in this vertical accountability, we need to include the master planning, we need to go for the regulations, and also we need to mandate the stakeholder, we need to go for the public consultation. That means at large we need to take the public into account, because these peoples are at mercy of an official or the judicial interpretation. So because of this, finally we need to go for the vertical accountability to make any process in our governance to be efficient and transparent and accountable. So this is the gist of this article. I hope it is clear. Now let us see the next article. Title says Grading India's Counter Coercive Strategy. So this article mainly talking about India's strategy mainly to counter the China. So this article, which is highly technical, so let us try to understand some important points regarding this article. So this article mainly talking about countering the China by the India. So what is the strategy that is followed by the India? So if you are talking about the strategy, the first important thing we need to talk here, that is Indo-Pacific region. So in the Indo-Pacific region, there is increase in the presence of the China that we know. So mainly to counter this presence of the China in this Indo-Pacific region, we came up with the card. We are having the good relationship with the neighborhood like Maldives, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, etc. And we inclined towards USA in the recent days. And if you see this China-Pakistan economic corridor that is passing through this POK, which is opposed by the India. And if you are talking, this article mainly focusing on two important things. The first one is the recent farmer protest that is happening. So whenever the farmers are protesting, then what happened mainly in the areas like Punjab, Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. So these are the states through which army will move. Okay, so whenever these people who are protesting across the roads and they are blocking the important roads which are mainly used by our army personnel, then it will impact the movement of the armies. So because if you see at the LAC region, there is a military standoff that is present. So these are the important roads which are mainly passes through the Punjab, Ladakh and the Jammu and Kashmir. Then what happened? We need to send the essentials like the food, medicines, weapons, etc. right? So whenever this movement of these essentials will be blocked, then what happened? We should face the severe more impacts here. So in this way, what is the need? The need here is we need to go for the grievances. What are the grievances which are faced by the farmers? That should be addressed. And we need to see at least the important routes which are used by this army personnel or the army trucks, they should not be blocked. So these are the one important thing that can be done. And the next one is mainly to counter the China. We strengthened our military, we increased our troop, and we are also used different vehicles and different weapons. They are inducted into our army, etc. And we also diplomatically strengthened with the other countries. And economically also we banned Chinese apps of more than 200. And because of this article finally says that we need to maintain the stability. So we need to finally come to the ultimatum here. Mainly we need to go for the resolving of the issue. So this is the gist of this article. Nothing more to remember regarding this. So if you are interested, you can read this article. It is up to you. So before concluding, I want to come up with a small announcement. We are launching this current affairs package course tomorrow. So please enroll to this course. This course will be very important to clear the prelims and the mains. We are providing weekly practice questions of prelims and also daily mains answer writing and the weekly essay. So this will be very important, and this will be very important key mainly to clear UPSC. So please enroll to this course. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.